Right, so this is only going to be a short one today, but I want to have a conversation about this lawn. I've had lots of comments over the past few weeks, really. I haven't shown this lawn, and people have commented to say things like I'm using the wrong type of grass, I've done the wrong things to the lawn, and that's the reason why it's in this state. And you know what? All those comments are probably somewhat true to an extent. However, I want to sort of talk about what I might do to this lawn this year, the direction I'm thinking of taking it, and why I've come to that decision. But I also want you to know that that decision isn't yet final, and whoever comments on this video with any advice, I'm certainly going to take it into consideration. So I want to address the actual grass type first. Now, I'm not proclaiming to be any sort of lawn care expert. I've been very open and honest in these videos since I've been posting, for the past 2 or 3 years about saying, my background isn't in landscaping, it isn't in lawn care. My job has, almost nothing to do with lawn care. In fact, literally nothing to do with lawn care. This just became a hobby a few years back for me, and it's something that's grown and grown, and it's almost like an obsession now, which I think is the case for a lot of people who watch this channel or watch any other, lawn care YouTubers out there. So for me, when it came to renovating this lawn for the first time about 2 years ago, I didn't have a clue what the best grass seed was to go with. So I went with the A1 Lawn Premiership Pro Mix, which is a ryegrass mix that I've come to obviously learn. But I didn't really know or care about that at the time. The reason why I went with the ryegrass mix was because it was advertised as hard wearing. Now, I was thinking, well, we're crossing the grass to get to the steps to get onto the patio, so it's going to need to be hard wearing because of that. And I knew at that time we would be getting a dog, and I knew the dog would be outside, and I thought, well, if we go with a grass type that's not hard wearing, then maybe the grass is going to get ripped up, or when it goes over it, he's going to ruin it. And I've come to realise you don't really have to have a ryegrass lawn. For people to be able to walk across it, you can walk across a fescue lawn, you can walk across a bent lawn, and it's not going to kill the lawn by stepping on it, or if the dog legs around for 5 minutes every other day. That's not necessarily going to be the case. So that's why I went with rye to begin with. I thought, okay, it's a hard wearing mix, I'll get it down. And I had great results. So last year, when I renovated again, I used the exact same grass seed, because the year before, it had been amazing. Now, when I say it had been amazing, the grass looked brilliant from May up until back end of November. And then when we started to get into December, it started to thin out a little bit. It started to die back. And I wasn't sure why. It happened last year, and then it happened again this year. This year it was a lot worse. And I was confused as to why, because the lawn actually looked better in December, just gone, than it did the previous year. But then by the time I got to the back end of Feb, the lawn had deteriorated really quickly. A lot of that reason is because of the rain that we had. We had really cold weather, we had an absolute deluge of rain, which has, rotted a lot of the roots of the plant, particularly ryegrass lawns. A lot of dieback. So I think that's a little bit why we're in this state. And actually, if you ignore the edge of the lawn where it looks horrendous and the far side where it's completely died off, this bit that I'm kneeling on now looks almost identical to what the lawn looked like this time last year before I did the renovation in about April time. So it's not too dissimilar. And I know for a fact that when we got into May, the lawn was looking amazing. However, we do just end up with those few months where it looks a little bit naff. And that brings us to the first thing that I'm contemplating this year is, do I stick with ryegrass on this lawn, or do I change it up? Do I go with a fescue lawn? Do I go with a bent grass lawn and take the lawn in a bit of a different direction and see if that fares any better? I've had a lot of comments saying that fescue, particularly, I think it's either chewing fescue or creeping fescue. I forget the difference between the two. But a lot of people have said they've got, those types of fescue lawns, and they fare better this winter. Now, it can be for loads of different reasons. That could be depending on where your lawn is. It could be whether it's in the shade, whether it's in the sun. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. So what I decided to do this week was to do a lot of research as to the differences between the grasses. And from 7 days of doing research on and off, and trust me, I was on YouTube every day watching videos and reading article after article about everything. And I'm by no means an expert yet, but I do have a better idea as to the different types of grasses. So that plant's doing me head in. So from what I've gathered, bent grass is a type of grass seed which is gonna, multiply across the lawn. So if you put one seed in the ground, the plant's gonna grow, and then from that parent plant, it's gonna grow almost like channels underground, and more plants are going to sprout up and their roots are going to go down into the lawn as well. They're predominantly used on things like golf courses, from what I've learned. And when they get on and verticut the lawn, it cuts those almost like connections between the plants, which then obviously promotes more plants to start to grow and to start to multiply. And that sounds amazing. And I was at the point on Tuesday night this week where I thought, right, that's it, we're going with bent grass, we're having a bent grass lawn. And then I started reading and watching a few more things online, and a lot of people were saying they're really susceptible to disease, which I've never dealt with a lawn with a lot of disease in, and maybe it would be a learning point, but that's something that puts me off a little bit. Also, people have said that they require a lot of maintenance. Now, I am more than happy getting on and cutting this lawn every single day, no issues with that, but a lot of things did say that they required a lot of water as well. Now, if we have a summer like we did last year where it got after May and it rained constantly, happy days, bring it on, bring on the bent grass, let's get it watered every day, using nature, happy days. However, if we do have a dry summer, it means getting on with the sprinkler and watering all the time. Having a normal job, Monday to Friday, just makes it difficult to be getting out here all the time and watering it and trying to maintain it that way. Another route to go down would be to go with a fescue lawn. So it doesn't grow in a similar way to what the bent grass does, where it has channels underground and it pops up. I think some of them might. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going off what I know this week. But they come up in like bunches, so lots and lots of grass blades come off that one plant. And then what happens is some of them die off, and then more regenerate, and then some of them die off and more regenerate, which is great because then you obviously get a nice thick lawn. But what you do end up with those kinds of lawns is lots of thatch, because all those grass plants that are sort of, all those grass blades that are like dying off and falling into the sward layer is creating that cushion, and that's where you can get that really soft, spongy grass then. And again, that's not a massive issue because I've got a scarifier. I can get on, I can scarify it as many times as I need to, and I can, go with it and do it that way then. And the final option then is obviously to stick with the ryegrass. Now, again, it's hard wearing, and the bag that I bought recently, which I'm going to be using on the front anyway, it's a dwarf rye mix. So it's got 3 different types of dwarf rye, which I don't know the difference between the 3, but I know it's ryegrass. And obviously it's hard wearing. I've done a bit of Googling. It says it does cope in the shade to an extent. So part of me's thinking, do we just stick with the ryegrass? Possibly. It'd be really interesting to hear what you think in the comments if you are clued up on different grass mixes. I'll be really interested to know. You can see even where the lawn's at its thickest, and I say thickest loosely, we've got a lot of these spaces in the lawn, and I kind of know why that's the case now. Because a ryegrass lawn isn't going to multiply like a bent grass plant would, what happens is when a ryegrass plant thins out, or if they all thin out, it'll leave a lot of spaces between them in the soil. Then obviously you get things like weed grasses and other weeds coming through if the seed's about, which isn't ideal. And when a ryegrass plant dies off, it actually, it leaves that space. Nothing's going to come in and fill that space. So what you are going to have to do, from what I've found out, is if you have a ryegrass lawn like me, you are going to have to get on every year and overseed. Once, maybe in the spring, when it's really thin like this, maybe even again later in the year. And that's what I did last year. I seeded it, or overseeded it, should I say, in the April time. And then in September, start of September, did another renovation. And it was really thick at that time. You can see the video on my channel about, did like an awesome renovation on this lawn. And it was already quite thick before I overseeded it. And then after I overseeded it, the lawn was really lush and it was amazing and the colour was brilliant. And I was happy with it. And that moves on to the other thing that I want to talk about, which is what type of lawn I want. Because as much as I'm posting these videos on YouTube, this is sort of, for me, it's my lawn at the end of the day. And by filming it and sharing it, the way I see this channel is, this channel isn't for Billy Bobby Works for the golf course down the road, who is working on lawns every day and has the perfect, most unbelievable lawn you've ever seen. It's not for him. It's not for the person who works for Green Thumb, knocking about in his van, spraying a few bits here and there, doing a few jobs, cutting lawns. It's not for him. Probably knows a shed some more than I do. This channel's for people who are really unfamiliar with lawn care, who just want a nice green lawn and who like to come out and maintain it. Now, from what I have read, and like I said before, stuff to do with bent grass and fescues, they do fare a little bit better. They seem in the winter, they seem more natural to the UK climate. So if you want sort of a less stressful lawn care situation, maybe a fescue lawn is the route you go down. Bent grass seems like it needs a lot of work and it's expensive, but going with a fescue lawn, maybe if you want to do less maintenance on it and something that's going to really take care of itself, a fescue lawn could be for you. But from what I've learned about rye, it's a lawn that requires a lot of attention and a lot of care. And if there's anything I like to do, is to get out, is to feed the lawn, is to cut the lawn, is to maintain the lawn, to oversee little patches here and there, because that's just simply what I like to do. A lot of people who are, getting into lawn care, who are into lawn care, want to be getting out every weekend and doing something different to the lawn and tweaking something, or overseeing little patches, or putting compost down and doing small little jobs just because it's the hobby. Now, some people see that as unnecessary, or they go, well, you don't need to be doing that because of this. And I just think if you like doing it and you're enjoying doing it and actually you get half decent results from doing it, then what's the problem with doing it? And I don't have a set calendar. I don't say, right, on the 1st of this month I'm going to be doing bang, 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 all these jobs. I respond to the grass. I come out every day, I look at the grass and I think, what job can I do to it? What can I do to adapt it? What can I do to improve it? So that makes me sort of sway more towards the ryegrass, because I like coming out and I like the colour of it. It's a really dark mix, and from what I've seen, the fescue mixes are much lighter. And I've seen a few things online that people say bents and fescues don't stripe up as nice, and not everyone's into lawn stripes. If that's you, whatever floats your boat. But for me, I'm a massive fan of the stripe. I really like the aesthetic. I think it gives a bit of a uniformity to a garden, and I like it. And we have got to remember as well, the channel's called Novice Gardener. It's not for experts. I'm not proclaiming to be an expert. I'm not telling you to do anything specific. It's about me doing things to my lawn. And if someone's a complete novice at lawn care or gardening, they can watch my channel and think, well, if that idiot can do it, if he can get on his lawn and do X, Y, and Z and get those results, then why can't everyone else? Why can't you too? So if you're in a similar position to me and you want to see a lawn like this be developed into a half decent lawn, stick around on the channel, watch along, follow along with the videos, come along every so often and see where we're up to, because this is not about pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to sprinkle a bit of compost and then 2 weeks later post a video where it looks amazing, but actually in the meantime I've cut it 30,000 times, put 1,000,001 products on it to get it looking aesthetically pleasing for the camera. I'm not going to film at certain times of day because it looks better. I'm not going to only film when the sun's out because it makes the lawn look really nice. This channel is going to give you a real reflection of what a proper lawn should sort of be. I've got a wet knee now as well, brilliant. So I've told you everything that I'm thinking about doing, and that's all to do with the species of the grass. But let me tell you what I'm absolutely definitely going to be doing to this lawn when we get to sort of early April time. The first thing is I'm going to be hollow core aerating the entire space. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because when we renovated this a couple of years ago, we put around about 6 to 8 inches of topsoil down, and I topped that up again last year. So there's a really, really thick layer of topsoil. The subsoil is below, which is a really heavy clay, and obviously I've got this on top. But I want to improve the actual soil quality, and what I've seen online is it's a really good idea to incorporate a little bit of sand, because 1, it can help with drainage, but 2, it gives you a much smoother surface on your lawn as well. So what I'm thinking is when I do the hollow core aeration, I'll get on with some top dressing, which is like a 70% sand, 30% topsoil mix. A lot of that sand's going to fall down into all those spaces where I've taken the hollow cores out. And then what that's going to mean is more of the water is going to be able to flow down into those spaces and help the lawn drain a little bit better. It's not going to be perfect because, like I've said before, the subsoil underneath the topsoil is clay. So it's a little bit like a bowl. Once the clay's taken on as much water as it can, then the same thing's going to happen to the topsoil. But hopefully that little bit of sand is going to help improve the actual quality of the soil. It'll help the drainage, so on and so forth. And I'm also going to top dress the entire thing with that 70-30 sand to topsoil mix to get as smooth of a surface as I possibly can. And again, it's another thing online. If you Google what should I put on the lawn, should I put sand, should I put topsoil, should I put only topsoil, should it be a 50-50 mix of 70-30, 70 topsoil, 30 sand, or 70 sand, 30 topsoil? There's no right or wrong answer. The right answer is the one you go with and hope for the best. It turns out well, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And also, this space over here, we really need to do something about it. So the aim for this space is it's eventually going to become either, we were thinking, do we put a patio down? Do we go with some decking? Do we stone it with the sort of the Cotswold stone here to have a space? Do we put a flower bed? You know, we've had all these a million ideas, and for the past 2 years, it's just looked an absolute state. So what I will be doing is when it gets to around about Easter time, I've decided the rest of it is becoming a lawn like it used to be when I first started this channel. So what I'm going to do is up to this point here where the lawn border and sort of over there ends, all this is a really decent topsoil. This over here, there's not a lot of topsoil, a lot of it's clay. So I'm going to take a little bit out, I'll replace it with some decent topsoil, and then I'll top dress it again with that 70-30 mix. So we'll have the entire lawn, a little bit like a U shape, all, you know, lawn and looking decent. And then what I'm hoping is when we get to sort of maybe June time, May time, something like that, I don't know, not decided yet, we'll just go with the flow. We're going to get a flower bed along here with all different shade tolerant plants to soften the aesthetic of this. Now you might say, what's the point in seeding over this end if you're going to be putting plants there anyway? Well, I'm going to be putting the topsoil down to try and improve the soil in this space anyway. And I may as well just put grass there for the time being, otherwise it's end up like a weed bed or a mud bath, which is not what we're going to want in this space. This bit's obviously going to become part of the lawn, and then we'll have, you know, a nice uniform look to the garden, so it's looking much better moving forward. So I know I said at the start of this video that it was going to be a short one, and it's been anything but, because I've literally just rambled about a million and one things. But just to sort of summarise, the whole space here is going to become a lawn. I'm going to be top dressing it, I'm going to be aerating the entire space, I'm going to be improving the soil quality, and yeah, I'm going to, you know, make the conditions better for the grass to grow. But like I said, I've not decided on the grass seed mix yet. I will have decided hopefully within the next couple of weeks with a bit more research, and obviously using the comments on the bottom of this video and some of my other videos too, to decide which type of grass mix I should go with. Should I go with the tried and tested ryegrass, which has fared me well, you know, during the spring, summer and autumn months? It's just the winter where it struggles. Or do I take the risk, do I kill off the entire lawn, go with something like fescue or bent, or a mixture of the two, and hope for the best that way, and maybe live to be thankful of it or live to regret it by the end of this lawn care season? I'm not quite sure. But if you can help, comment below, and if you can't help, then, you know, buckle up, get ready for the ride, because this can almost be your test sample, my garden. And if you're in a similar position to me and you're not sure what to do, then stick around and hopefully we can figure out the answers together using this YouTube channel. So cheers for watching. If you did enjoy it, or you found it useful or interesting, feel free to give it a like. And like I've said a few times, if you want to follow along with any more of these lawn care videos, if you want to follow the journey of this garden, we've got other projects we're going to be doing that are not just lawn care related this year, other obviously garden tasks too, but like I said, there's going to be a shed ton of lawn care, then feel free to stick around. And finally, thanks for watching.